Dragon's Dogma 2 is an amazing game. Before I get really into this video, talking about the different things that you can do in this game, I just want to address the very big elephant in the room that I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding or they've heard a lot of misinformation about. First of all, the microtransactions. You are not forced to buy them. None of the items there are that important. You can play the game completely and earn everything in the game. I just want to make that known because a lot of people are giving this game flack and they're just hating on this game because of the microtransactions. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a big fan of microtransactions as well. I mean, I've played Ubisoft games for years, okay? I know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. But that being said, the items in the shop, you do not need to buy them. They're a completely optional thing. You do not need them. To finish the game all the way through and do a new game, you don't need them. You don't. That being said, again, I just want to make that clear. And now to talk about the game itself. It is amazing. It is amazing. I am completely new to Dragon's Dogma. I have the first game, but I never played it. I never actually took the time to actually try it out, because I was always preoccupied with other games. But then when this game was coming out, I was like, yep, I gotta get this game. It looks amazing. Like, the character creation sold me. But then when I finally got my hands on it, I'm playing it. I had a rough time in the beginning, learning all the things. But then over time, as I learned, I was like, yo, this game is actually impressive. It's so good. It doesn't hold your hand. The combat is challenging but funny. Like, in this moment, I went to sleep in the camp and then woke up to this to this minotaur just sitting there. Like, I had to stop there and just look at him because I was like, yo, what? He's just chilling there. Like, it's just so funny, the encounters that you have with enemies. It makes you go like, wait a second, what the hell just happened? He was just there chilling the entire time. Like, and it gives you creative freedom to do whatever you need to do to defeat an enemy. Like, it doesn't hold your hand. You don't have to fight a certain type of way. You have completely creative freedom to dispose of the enemy however you see fit. And that's especially true of, like, when you have a vocation. And depending on how you play that vocation, it goes the way how, you would expect. Like, for example, Trickster is amazing. I love that vocation. You have zero combat using that vocation. Instead, you're tricking the enemy into attacking whatever illusion that you have casted, while your pawns are doing the majority of the damage. But I'm explaining that vocation because it is a really tricky vocation that I really like and enjoy. But the combat, again, is challenging but funny. It is just hilarious at times. And it's also just, like, mind-blowing to see, especially when you use certain skills, or not skills, but abilities from the vocation. Like, it is great. And then, of course, when it comes to the combat, the pawns, I don't know if I'm being biased or anything, but the pawns are amazing. The support that they give you. I've played Dragon's Age, I've played Mass Effect, I've played so many games that you have companions, and I feel they're never as supportive as Dragon's Dogma's 2 pawns. Like, you don't have to select the character and make them use their abilities. No, these pawns, they use their abilities of their own free will, and they use it in a way that is so intelligent. Like, Dice right here, you see the very her skin shows a lot. Of course, that's my main pawn. I have her as a mage. I have her as a mage with certain, offensive spells, but also very supportive spells, so that way she can heal and all that. And then the other two are pure combat and all that, so that way they can help out with the combat. But the way how they work together to get rid of enemies is super quick and easy, supportive. They'll help you up. They'll do so much that it doesn't feel like you're the only one that's doing all the work. It's so great. It really is. I love this system that they have for the pawns. It is so good. It really, I'm mind blown by it because it's just, again, I don't know if I'm feeling biased. I don't know if it is I'm being biased, but the pawns in this game are just better than a lot of companions in other games. Cause it's like they actually go to work. They actually go to work and fight the enemy. The story, I'll admit, it's a bit intriguing. It holds your attention. I will say that. Especially when you're like, oh, so that's what they're trying to do. Like they're trying to scam everybody, say like, oh, that's the real person, and no one else can be that person. I'm not trying to spoil it too much, but it heavily involves you and the fact that you are the Arisen, of course, obviously, but it involves specifically a kingdom. Okay, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but when you get into it, it's like, oh, okay, so that's what they're trying to do. They're evil bastards. Okay, I want to get rid of them, even though you can't. Actually, I don't know. Actually, now that I think about it, there's still so much that I haven't learned to do in the game. The characters are pretty memorable. Like Captain Brant, he knows immediately that you are the Arisen, that you are the Majesty, and he goes and supports you 100%. Like he actually tells you what you need to do, where you need to go, to get the information needed, to prove that you are the true Arisen and all that. And I think I've already spoiled too much. He gives his full 100% support, which is great. He's a cool character. I like his character a lot. His character is really cool. Then you got Ulrika. You got this lady that's in a very fancy, like high clientele, like classy clientele brothel. Then there's the elves, which I'll admit they look pretty cool. You can't understand a word that they're saying unless they speak English, but still they're cool. They're elves, right? You got dwarves, you got Beastren, and some are very memorable, some not so memorable, but it's whatever. The romances are a bit rough. They are a bit rough, especially since that we've been spoiled heavy with especially heavy with Baldur's Gate 3. Amazing romances. And then of course you got Dragon Age and Mass Effect and so many others where it's like the romance scenes are quite nice. So Dragon's Dogma 2's romance scenes are a bit rough, they're a bit rough, but they're pretty nice and pleasant. You can give them flowers and shiny gems and all that, and check up on them, go on little romantic adventures and whatnot. But it is nice and pleasant, right? But this game, like, oh yeah, and that's another thing I want to mention too, because I mentioned it before when it comes to microtransactions. But the fast travel is not really so much as a big deal, because there's a benefit, to fast traveling, but then there's a benefit to not fast traveling, if you get my meaning. Like, you have port crystals where you're able to place on the ground, then use fairy stones to fast travel to that port crystal. And you can leave the port crystal there on the ground. It won't disappear or anything. It'll stay there. And then you can get the fairy stones from merchants. The port crystals, you get them from special NPCs. And there's the Sphinx that I know a lot of people have probably seen on Twitter. Smash. Wood. Oh, but there's a thing where you're solving her riddles, and there's a specific one where you have to give her an item, and that item you can duplicate it. So you can take a port crystal, give it to her, and she'll duplicate it. So you'll have 2 port crystals, and you can go to another NPC and buy even more port crystals with the either gold or no, not gold. I think it's a resource that you need to get from Drakes. And so you could fast travel if you want. But the benefit to not fast traveling is you get to explore. You get to level up your vocation and your pawn, your skills. You can find better equipment, storylines, and other characters, and have encounters that are pretty interesting. And that, you know, there's a reward to actually just adventuring around and exploring, you know, and fighting certain enemies. You know, and again, you could get a lot of high-end equipment and like armors and weapons from specific NPCs. You do not need to, you know, get any microtransactions. Again, the microtransactions are not cosmetic based, or they're not a pay-to-win type of thing. Like, everything is in the game. It's all in the game. Like, you don't need to worry about anything other than just playing the game, having fun, and exploring. It's so good. So good. And again, when I was speaking about the encounters, it's like, you see this right here. I was expecting him to fall through, but then you'll see in a second what happens, which made me laugh a lot, because he ends up falling back and he falls the other way around, and then boom, he plummets. It's just so great. This game is amazing. I love it. I've been obsessed with it. It's just so good. Anyways, thank you so very much for watching. Tell me what you think, and have a great day.